We are all here to celebrate that I always say one man. If I have my way, I will hold this microphone for more than 5 hours to talk about Are Afe Babalola. I know the students are murmuring. Are Afe Babalola was very worthy of this celebration. A very priceless elder statesman. I'm very privileged to have a personal relationship with him. A personal relationship that I look forward to coming to Abuad every time. If he doesn't hear from me, he will say, Kábíyèsí, eti daminu mani bàbá tó dáa jùlọ gbogbo àgbáyé. Kò ṣeé ṣe, mi ò lè dà yín nù. And indeed, you are worthy to be celebrated every day. For me, I celebrate you every day on the throne of Oduduwa. And I mean it. Everybody will come here and say a whole lot of things about you. But you have lived a very fulfilled life. And you are an example to each and every one of us, young and old. What have we used our life to do? How well have we contributed to our society? Not on this scale, in our own little way. Look at how selfless a man is. It is very obvious. You will come to this world. At some point you will leave. But some people, we don't even want them to leave this world. Baba, as far as I'm concerned, I want to have you forever. Ọlọ́run abá lọ́ra ẹ̀mí yín. Lórúkọ gbogbo orí adé, Ọlọ́run abá wa dá yín sí. Ara yín á máa lé o. Ẹ ní ṣàìsàn. Baba, you are a great icon. Baba, you are a great icon. Baba, you are indeed a great icon. In order to take our time, for me, as I mentioned, I celebrate you every day, and I will continue to do it. It's my commitment, and also to teach the young ones about your virtues, about what you stand for. All of us here today, we've benefited one way or the other from your wealth of experience, not only material-wise, but in so many ways. You have actually mentored a lot of people. I remember at some point, we wanted to do something for you in Lagos. I took it upon myself. I said, Baba, can you give me like 10 names of some very close SAN to you? Eventually, Baba gave me like 40 names. I started calling about 40 SANs. You will not believe what happened. They started envying one another. That Kábíyèsí, you didn't call me. You didn't call me. Eventually, I ended up calling almost 100 SAN in this country. Is he not a great man? Is he not a great icon? To me, you will be an icon to reckon with forever. We will do three things. All of us that are here, we will clap for Baba, we will stand up for Areafe Babalola, and we will sing for Areafe Babalola. And you will follow me with this stone. I have a small song to sing for Baba. If you love this great icon, say Areafe. If you love this great icon, say Areafe. If you love this great icon and you really want to show it, if you love this great icon, say Areafe. I'm not satisfied at all. I want everybody to stand up. And you ready, Emma Pino, Babata Woy, what to be, what to be, Lord. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fi ìdúró yẹ wọn sí. Bàbá yìí, Ọlọ́run kẹ́ wa, àwọn ọmọ káàárọ̀ oòjíire tí wọ́n pèsè bàbá yìí fún wa láti ọ̀run wá. Inú mi dùn, gbogbo èso ara wọn náà mo rí wọn. Ọlọ́run Olódùmarè á jẹ́ kẹ́ pẹ́. You will all sing this song very well for me. You will shout, Areafe. You will dance, and you will clap. So the song goes again. Which one should we start with? To clap, to dance, or to shout? Which one? All together. Students, are you there? We should do 3 in 1. Okay, let's start with clapping. If you love this great icon, say Areafe. If you love this great icon, say Areafe. If you love this great icon and you really want to show it, if you love this great icon, say Areafe. If you love this great icon, clap your hands. If you love this great icon, clap your hands. If you love this great icon and you really want to show it, if you love this great icon, clap your hands. Your team, clap your hands. Love this great icon, stand up to dance. And Shambi, shake to the left, shake to the right. Oh yeah, you can come with music. If you love this great icon, stand up to dance. If you love this great icon and you really want to show, if you love this great icon, stand up to dance. Shout Areafe. Love this great icon. Shout Areafe.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Ekiti State, our father, Are Afe Babalola, the royal fathers that are here present, distinguished guests. Please permit me to stand on the already established protocol. I have the instruction of the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kayode Ariwola, to represent him here. It is part of his instruction that I deliver his address. However, I would rather drop his address with the organizers of this program. It is a 10-page address. In order to save time, I will not read it. Instead, I will read his goodwill message on page 26 of our pamphlet. I read, please. My dear learned Sikh, it is my honor to write this congratulatory message on the occasion of your 60th anniversary of call to the English bar. I was delighted when I heard the news of the commemoration of 60 years anniversary of your call to the bar. Indeed, this is a rare milestone worthy of celebration, especially as the years have been dedicated to the active practice of law, promotion of the rule of law, and the cause of justice. I have no doubt that in the past 60 years you have consistently registered yourself as an epitome of excellence, brilliance, leadership, maturity, administrative prowess, and honesty at the bar. This is even more glaring as you continue to replicate these no main virtues among all outstanding within and outside the bar. Needless to say that your contribution to the development of law and administration of justice in Nigeria and beyond is pramos interference non-secondant. Gives me immense joy and serve as a cause of gratitude to God that as a Nigerian, you continue to impact the law and society positively in many lofty respects. This rare privilege is bestowed on very few, and I'm very proud to celebrate with you and identify with all that you represent, while wishing the Are Bamofin the very best in the tireless pursuit of the cherished virtues. It is my prayer that God Almighty continue to grant you longer life, sound health, the requisite wisdom, counsel, understanding, and skills required to continue to leave footprints on the sands of time. It is my heartfelt prayer that your enviable legacies will outlive you. Once again, Are, please accept my felicitation. Yours faithfully, Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwola, GCON. Thank you.
Celebrant of today, Papa Are Afe Babalola. I also salute my boss, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of this great country. I am happy for the opportunity to stand before you this afternoon to thank you, sir. When I say sir here, I mean the former president for the opportunity he gave me to serve under him as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now that came about because I am one of the professional offsprings of Are Afe Babalola. It was Are Afe Babalola who nominated me to His Excellency, the former president. It wasn't because I was in politics. I was not in politics. But they are great friends. And when there was a vacancy in his cabinet, he called on his friend Are to give him the name of a lawyer who can work with him. That was the way it happened. And I became a minister without being in politics. I'm happy to see you here today, sir. And I'm happy again that I'm able to thank you publicly for the opportunity, sir. Now, I want to congratulate especially our father, Are Afe Babalola. When it came, because I didn't start life as a lawyer, I rather was working with the University of Ibadan before I went to read law. So when it came for me now to do my chamber attachment, that was when I found my way into the chambers of Are. And you have heard a lot said here today. He is a philanthropist. I am a great beneficiary, you see, of that nature of his. Now, when I was on attachment to the chambers from the law school, he gave us an assignment, and I tried my best in that assignment. There were 5 of us posted to the chambers at that time. And when he saw what I wrote, he now called me to his office and said, "Young man, who are you?" I said, "Sir, I am Akiolu Jimmy." He said, "Yes, I know your name. But who really are you?" I didn't really know what to say. Because if he knew my name and I was there in the chambers to do attachment, so what else do I have to say to show who I was? But then I said, "I am in the law school." He said, "Yes. I know you are there, and that's why you are here. But I read through your preparation of the case I gave you. Now, what you wrote for me, certainly if you claim to be 15 years at the bar, I will not argue with you. So where did you learn all that you put in your write-up?" And I said to him, "I have been reading." He said, "Reading?" I said, "Yes, sir. That I did not just limit myself to what we have been taught in the law school, that I was doing extra reading, extra study." He said, "Yes. I think you will be a material for this profession." will you like to work with me? When you finish your law school, I didn't go there to look for a job. I was posted there for law school, chamber attachment, and now an offer of job was coming to me just like that. I picked it up. I said, yes, sir. He now said, what car would you like to buy? Look at me. From law school to the chambers to land, this offer of a job, offer of a car. Didn't know how to respond to it. He said, yes, yes, young man, tell me. Okay. I said, sir, I would like to buy a 504. At that time, there's nothing like Tokumbo. Brand new 504. He gave me the money to go and buy, even though I was in the law school. He gave me the money to go and buy a car. Then he said, how much is your fee in the law school? I said, sir, I have paid it. He said, yes. I know you have paid, but I want to refund it to you. I told him, and he refunded it. Then he said to me, anytime you come to Ibadan from the law school, any weekend you come, please come to the chambers. And of course, I was doing that. And each time I went there, he would always have money to give to me. Now, that's a clear demonstration, you see, of his nature as a philanthropist. Now, that nature of his, up till tomorrow, is still there. Recently, one of my colleagues in the chambers, we went to greet him. When we were doing a matter here, we left the court and said, let's go and see Papa. And we came. Now, as we were leaving, he dipped his hand into a box behind him and took out money. When he offered me money, and my partner, we were reluctant. Then he said, very rich Ekiti. He said, Okine koja bakun. I didn't understand what I meant. He said, yes, you don't understand. I know you are doing well, you are making money, but you cannot be richer than add this to what you have. That is what Papa represents. A philanthropist of note. Now, in the chambers, I know they were beckoning to me to finish quickly, but I need to say one or two things here. Now, in the chambers, we were many in the chambers, and today we thank God. Several SANs have passed through his hand. Many are judges at the High Court level, Court of Appeal level, Supreme Court level. But one thing about him is that he works hard and he likes you to also work hard. One of the quotes here that they paraded a while ago, there is one that I keep remembering every day, and that is, he prays most who works hardest. That's his philosophy of life. And we have all imbibed it. And that is helping us today. Now look at behind me here. We are just a few of those who are lucky, you see, to pass through the chambers many are still there. Those of us who are out are benefiting today by the great name he has made and the learning we all got under him. One thing that we all here will testify to is Papa's power of cross-examination. If you have ever watched Papa in court during a trial, you will love law. Whatever edifice of lies you have built up, Papa will crush it. Papa will crush it. And I have not seen any other lawyer in this country, past and present, who has been blessed with that power of cross-examination. Now, this university is a young one, about 13 years, I think. But see the level it has attained today. Number one in Africa and globally. That is part of the evidence of hard work. We have very many universities older than this one in this country today, but that distinction this university has attained has no doubt shown that hard work pays, and when you work hard, there is a lot that you can gain. So it's a lesson to all of us, the students who are here and our juniors who are still in chambers. You have to work hard. You have to work hard. It pays to work hard. Hard work doesn't kill. It only helps you see, to succeed in life. So I want to thank again, Papa, what you have done for us. We love you. We continue to love you. We respect you. You are a great icon that makes us proud each time we think of you. My colleagues who cannot be here today sent their goodwill. They said that because of some urgent assignments, they could not be here. But they said, since I will be here, I should let you know that they couldn't be here because of these other national assignments. I'm so grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yield the microphone to our moderator, or perhaps, sir. All right, so the stage is set. Let's hear now Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka speak to the subject matter, the need for constitutional reform for Nigeria. Please, a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Let me skip through the protocols, and for obvious reasons, I'm sure you understand why it's useful for me to stand on existing protocols. Unlike President Obasanjo, I have great advantage over him, and I'm also happy that he was called before me. He did say to you that he will get to heaven before me, and I'm really mightily happy about that, because he has to die before me to get to heaven. So I'm not in a hurry at all. Sir, please, I'm not in a hurry. Unlike President Obasanjo, I am not afraid of lawyers. I have earned my medals with the lawyers because I have spoken at least 3 different occasions over the last 20 or so years. I've addressed the national meeting of the Nigerian Bar Association. I've also served under 3 Supreme Court justices, Justice Okuta, Justice Uwais, and Justice Nikki Toby. So I think I have more than earned my medals in law. I was struck to see Femi Falana, of all people, having to really genuflect to greet President Olusegun Obasanjo. I'm not sure that is something he did with all his heart and all his mind. My job has been made very easy. My job has been made very easy because I think many of you must be pretty tired. And so what I'm going to do, I had prepared a paper. Unfortunately, the organizers didn't tell me that we were going to have a panel designed like this. So I'll have to skip through the first part of my paper, which attempts to look at the whole idea of the future of constitutionalism, but as a process within Nigeria and also constitutionalism around many parts of Africa. So I will skip through that in part because I think that Nigeria's history is pretty convoluted as far as constitutionalism is concerned. It's not a subject I'm an expert in, but at least I think we can pay attention to the fact that even the nature of our history as a colonial state, as a post-colonial state, also as a nation that was also fractured by a series of military interventions. And as you know, every time the military came to power, the first casualty was rule of law, first casualty was constitution, therefore the first casualty was the National Assembly. So, and every time we almost ended up like Sisyphus, because every time a military regime comes and we attempt a new order, for those of you who may not be familiar, Sisyphus was said to have angered the Greek gods. And for his punishment, he was asked to roll a stone up the hill. But also in punishment, every time he rolled the stone close to the top of the hill, the gods will trip and the stone will go back and Sisyphus will have to go to the bottom of the hill to start all over again. I've used that metaphor in referring to Nigeria's struggle, not only with constitutionalism, but also with the struggle for democracy. So both of them go hand in hand, so to say. So, as I said, I'm not going to go through most of that, but it's important to understand the nature of the political landscape of Nigeria. I've often said, rather jokingly, but I think it's important for our records, that we are perhaps one country that cannot speak about how many presidents we have had. We don't use generic terms. If we say, how many presidents have we had in Nigeria? We can say President Obasanjo came twice, one as head of state, one as president. Buhari came 2 times, one as head of state, one as president. Then we have head of interim government. Then we've had all kinds of. So Nigeria's constitutional history is so fractured. We've had series of constitutions, beginning with the initiative of the British colonialists, right through to the processes that all of us are very familiar with. In my little experience, and thanks to President Obasanjo, who appointed me as Secretary of the Political Reform Conference, I've had a little bit of closeness in looking at the issues and the debate. One of the most frustrating things for me in looking at the history of Nigeria's struggle with constitutionalism is the process itself of making a constitution. And if you compare it, and the paper tries to look at that, but I probably won't go into it, is that unlike the making of the American Constitution, about which I spent a little bit of time in the paper, because the Americans, when they were making their Constitution, at least had sources of inspiration, whether it was the Declaration of Independence in 1776, or the American Constitution itself, which came into being in 1787, or the Emancipation Proclamation, in which Abraham Lincoln made the defining statement, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness." That means that essentially the Americans, in making their constitution, allowed for the fact that there has to be enough space for every individual to pursue as a matter of right life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The next is the Gettysburg speech, which Abraham Lincoln delivered on the 19th of November in 1863. And it speaks to the issues because that is where we find our definition of democracy. So American constitutionalism drew inspiration from a range of scholars, whether it's Machiavelli, John Locke, the Bible itself, Thomas Hobbes, Russell, Thomas Paine, Burke, Mills, and even Karl Marx himself. And the result of all this is that you have in the American Constitution a document, although it has been subjected to amendments, but you can see very clearly that there was a historical and ideological background to the framing of the American Constitution. In our own situation in Nigeria, part of our problem in my little experience has been the process of even electing those who are going to talk about writing the new constitution. Now, the political reform conference that I served in, we had 400 members. Compare it to the number of those who had to write the American Constitution. And for me, one of the very interesting things, people like Thomas Madison and some of the framers of the Constitution, it's amazing to see the depth of knowledge and the effort that people made to acquire so much knowledge preparatory to writing the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson, for example, was said to have, he was living in France, when the issue of writing the Constitution came about. And his friend Madison requested that he should please help him find enough material that they will study. And his friend sent him 195 books just to prepare for this very important assignment. I make the point because if you compare it with the Nigerian situation, where coming to participate in the making of the Constitution is always at the discretion of the person who is the president, and he uses other sources of information. But I found that the struggle to represent traditional rulers, to represent the church, to represent all kinds of aggregate groups, ends up with a lot of people with very little understanding of what constitution making is. And what became very clear to me that most of the people who showed up saw the place as a theater for politicking and political transaction. So you can run through the Nigerian situation, but long story short, it is that first of all, there are no perfect constitutions anywhere in the world. And that in the final analysis, a constitution may be like the finest car that you can have, or the finest aeroplane. It depends on whose hands it is in. I stumbled on a poem, a very beautiful poem, which said that a racket is a racket, just for playing tennis. But it's not an ordinary thing for playing tennis if it is in the hands of Djokovic, or if it is in the hands of Serena Williams or Venus Williams. A football is an ordinary football, but in the feet of Messi, it's a completely different tool altogether. So the point is that a constitution ought to be able to meet certain objectives and ideals. But in the final analysis, it is not so much the quality of the constitution, it is the quality of the men and women who have to operate the constitution. So I would like to, as I said, maybe run through to the end of my paper, where I raise quite a few things, because that's where I discuss what I call, what is the future of constitutionalism in Nigeria? I need to do that so that, the members can have an opportunity to discuss the things that need to be discussed. The first is that let's not be exuberant about how far we have traveled on the path of democracy, in part because there were a lot of ideological contestations around the world, especially after 1989 with the collapse of the Berlin Wall, where many African scholars were talking about the new liberation of Africa, because they discovered that colonialism hadn't worked, but that successive military rules and one-man dictatorships across the continent had destroyed the foundations of our freedom, had elevated ethnicity, and created ample room and opportunity for all kinds of non-state actors to embarrass and subdue democracy. So the point to make is that the very fact that we're barely a few months since the departure of the last military general means that we must be modest in our talking about the depth of our democracy and how far we have traveled. The second point is to look at the state of Nigeria itself. Do we resemble a democracy? Do we work like a democracy? Do we talk like a democracy? Because the very fact that up till now, months after our elections and after swearing in a president, we still don't know who is going to be the president of Nigeria until the Supreme Court is over. Very much akin to the introduction of the video assistant referee in football, in which case we are like a man who has scored a goal, but we have to wait for the referee to go to VAR and confirm whether it was a goal or not a goal. It's not evident. It is a symptom of how modest our claim should be. Because we very often confuse the very fact that we're in a civilian administration with the notions of being in a democracy. That if we cannot fix our electoral process, which is the defining law for how to choose leaders in a democracy, then we must be modest in our saying that we're in a democracy. Secondly, our judiciary is in a crisis of perception, but also based on the experiences that Nigerians have had. It will not be surprising if ordinary Nigerians think that the only thing the Supreme Court does is to look at election petitions. Because we're looking up to the Supreme Court to help extend the frontiers of democracy and human freedoms. But very often, those institutions with Nigerians perceive that they've now become so severely, compromised. That has consequences for democracy and how we see the process of democratization. We also have a raft of agitations across the country. We have seen the worst face of corruption in Nigeria. Femi Falana, my friend here, will speak about that because he's published a series of articles talking about what happened under the Buhari administration. They were not the ones who caused corruption, but I think in the last administration we saw the ugliest face of corruption in many, whether in moral terms, financial terms, or other terms. And I'll mention that before I close. We have a country that we are now sharing with bandits. Our very sovereignty, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, is under assault because we have non-state actors, whether you call them bandits or Boko Haram. It is that the entire territorial integrity of the nation is at stake. Because nobody is excited now about being a Nigerian. Whether you are president, whether you are senator, no matter who you are, everybody is working with his, with bated breath, because we don't know. We are literally now being held hostages, by people that are a threat to the very existence of our democracy and our country. Hundreds and thousands of Nigerians are still unaccounted for. They are in the hands of bandits. They are in the bushes. The Chibok girls, all kinds of things. And if the essence of our Constitution is to guarantee a quantum of rights and freedom and the pursuit of happiness, what do we have to say? So when we talk about constitutionalism, we're also talking about a framework for guaranteeing, as I said, the freedoms that document contains. Now, the challenge, therefore, going forward is what can we do? Now, there's a lot of distrust of the judiciary in Nigeria, but I consider the judiciary victims almost in the same way that every institution in Nigeria is suffering a crisis, whether it's the judiciary, whether it's the church, whether it's civil society, whether it's the academia, right across the country. So the question, therefore, is I don't think we should assume that we're in a democracy. We should assume that we're marching towards a democracy, but the hard work is still undone. And that means rebuilding Nigeria after the kind of mess that the last administration has left our country, whether it is in civil society, whether it is in the most immoral distribution of resources and opportunities in Nigeria. We know the documents are there, the evidence is there. I've got stuff on my phone that gives a count of the number of federal institutions that were planted in Daura in the last 8 years, where the president comes from. I come from Southern Kaduna. Had I made this presentation as a keynote address with enough time, I would have shown you bullets. I would have shown you empirical evidence you can measure. That is that where I come from, there is not up till today, since the creation of Kaduna State, one single sign of a federal structure in the area of Nigeria where I come from. When you hear Nigerians talk about the South, when they talk about Southern Borno, Southern Adamawa, when they talk about Southern Bauchi, when they talk about Southern Nasarawa, when they talk about Southern Taraba, when they talk about Southern Kaduna, those areas are contiguous with the areas of poverty, neglect at the federal level. So the point, therefore, is that we need to think a little bit more clearly and much more creatively about how we can mobilize our people and how ordinary Nigerians can see that being in power is not just about opportunity for self-enrichment. Because the sad story, let me put it that way, the very fact that Daura has had the opportunities that it has never had since its existence. And that even Katsina, that is next door, has not seen the development that has taken place in Daura. Nothing personal, but just to say that we cannot run a skewed country, a country with such skewed opportunities and privileges, and pretend that we're in a democracy. So we look, when you look at, for example, what I call the violation and desecration of the Constitution by even those who administer the Constitution, themselves. So I make the point, therefore, that restoring confidence in the professionalism of the military and moving away from seeing the insecurity as purely a military operation to addressing issues of insecurity as matters that concern everybody. You talk to senior military officers, serving and retired, and there is a certain kind of feeling that in the last 8 or so years, because how do you run a country in which there is absolutely diversity, management of diversity becomes the victim? A president has such enormous powers, but what do you use those powers for? I give you one simple example. Something that happened because countries change in the hands of certain presidents. Okay? As I said, I come from Southern Kaduna. We have had 3 service chiefs, and they were appointed by President Obasanjo, whom I must commend. I mean, we look like friends, but we really have a lot of debate and argument. Don't mind what you see outside. He's a man who enjoys debate, but also we confront ourselves with certain realities. But the people of Southern Kaduna remember that he's about the only one who ever appointed a minister who came from Southern Kaduna. Or he's the only one who ever appointed army chiefs who came from Southern Kaduna. So now many of you had the leaked video of my former governor talking about the nature of the distribution of opportunities and so on and so forth. It's not the point. We now have an opportunity to rebuild our country. And no matter what happens, how the Supreme Court ends, how things end in Nigeria, I'm convinced that we have put the past, the ugly past, behind us. The challenge, therefore, for me and for us is to open up the frontiers of opportunity. As I said, presidents have tremendous powers. Under President Lyndon Johnson, after the death of Kennedy on November 22, 1964, Lyndon Johnson took over power. And Lyndon Johnson did some of the most dramatic things that perhaps I believe that even if John Kennedy had lived, he probably would not have achieved. Black people would not have seen the opportunities that they saw under Lyndon Johnson. And I take just one example to show you that if a president has, first of all, a president has to understand his country. Also, you have to understand where people are hurting. You also have to be a man of integrity who understands how to manage differences. The American Supreme Court was made up of white people. In 1916, Woodrow Wilson had decided that a Jew will be allowed to enter the Supreme Court. And even bringing in a Jew to the Supreme Court, the next day, it was reported in the papers that Woodrow Wilson had sent a bomb into the Supreme Court. Now, the Jew was white. But Lyndon Johnson felt that a black man needed to be in the Supreme Court. Then he decided on Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall had expanded the frontiers of opportunity for black people through arguing the case in 1954 of Brown versus Board of Education. And there are certain seismic changes that the Supreme Court can make in terms of how people see themselves, because that is what opened up the opportunities. But then when Lyndon Johnson became president, he wanted a black man in the Supreme Court, but he didn't know what to do because there was nobody in the Supreme Court that was about to retire. In the American Supreme Court, I think you stay until you drop. Now, one of the youngest justices, Justice Tom Clark, he was a justice of the Supreme Court, only 67 years, but he was a good friend of the president. And Lyndon Johnson now approached him, but he went about it in the most dramatic manner. He wanted a vacancy in the Supreme Court, couldn't find it. So what did he do? His son, the son of Clark, Ramsey, was a Solicitor General. A lawyer called Nicholas Katzenberg was the Attorney General. The president pulled him out, gave him another assignment, and then pushed the son of Tom Clark, who was a justice of the Supreme Court, made him Attorney General. And he played that psychological game because Tom Clark now had to ask himself, how will I be in the Supreme Court and my son is Attorney General? Automatically, he didn't have to be told. He decided to step down because he also wanted to see his son grow. And it was when he stepped down that an opportunity came, and then he pushed the name of Thurgood Marshall. If you read the stories of the debate that went on in Congress, just about affirming this man, and you see that if a president wants to do good, he can do good. He has enormous powers in his hands, but his heart must be in the right place. He must also have the right reflexes to understand integrity, to understand fairness, to understand equity. Power in the hands of a criminal can not only reinforce inequality, but endanger a whole society. Now, the process of making Thurgood Marshall member of the Supreme Court took a lot of effort. The president ran around in the middle of the night, blackmailed, let me use that expression, intimidated, harassed his friends until they came to the table. And finally, Thurgood Marshall, on the 2nd of September 1967, was sworn in. And in fact, the president, it was very interesting that Senator Hugo, who actually swore him in, was a former member of the KKK. The point I'm making, it didn't change much, but psychologically. So, for example, when people criticize the Supreme Court, you also understand that sometimes, like the saying goes, don't throw a stone in the market until you are sure that your mother didn't go to the market that day. And by the way, today, in 3 years since my mother died, I'm celebrating the anniversary of her death. May her soul rest in peace. But I'm making the point, if I had Femi Falana in the Supreme Court of Nigeria, I can go to sleep. If I have Olisa Agbakoba in the Supreme Court of Nigeria, I can go to sleep. If I have Michael Zokome in the Supreme Court of Nigeria, I can go to... There are certain people that you know that their presence may not solve the problem, but it creates a sense of affirmation. Today, women in Nigeria are asking for a place. And by the way, I've always supported that. I don't think women should be asking for 30%. They should be asking for 50%. But let me tell you, don't clap yet. My conclusions are different from your own. If you are going to give women 50%, and please give them 50%. But they will not be Yoruba women. They will not be Igbo women. They will not be Hausa women. They will not be Fulani women. They will be women from people like us who are not even anywhere in the Constitution. Let them be women. But we can't, because otherwise, what you do is you just continue to reinforce inequality. A system must be so fair that it understands that nobody who is a citizen is on an excursion. Every citizen has a right. So finally, I think that the president of Nigeria must, because all these executive orders are meant to correct wrongs. There must be an executive order or an amendment of the Constitution that defines what is the status, the religious status of the Nigerian state. And who has the right and the power to take life without a process? We cannot have a country where somebody comes in the name of whatever may be your motivation. A woman cannot say that I gave birth to this child, I carried her in my womb, therefore I'm going to kill her. Even if she does, because she's exercising what she thinks is right. The system will tell her, you may have carried her in your womb, but you have no right over her life. A country where anybody can just wake up and say, you are accused of blasphemy. You are accused of... We're not in a theocracy. We're in a democracy. There must therefore be sanctions and punishment. Because somebody goes and burns my church or burns a mosque. What are the consequences? Over 40 years now, we've been going back to rebuild our churches whenever they are burned. The Nigerian state doesn't care. There must be an order that holds a governor accountable, that holds those to finding criminals who are defiling religion, who are killing people in the name of religion. They have no right to kill even their own people. So for me, these are some of the fundamental issues. The Constitution is very clear. The Constitution is very clear about the boundaries of religion. But we have a country where right now, as I'm talking to you, there are many federal universities where there are no churches, there are no mosques. What are the reasons? Many universities, land has been provided for the building of churches. But vice chancellors, chairmen of governing councils are turning a blind eye. I therefore demand that the president of Nigeria, by executive order, must say that every church, every worship, every system, I mean every federal institution, whether it's medical, whether it is educational, must reflect what Nigeria reflects. Even if there are 2 Christians or 2 Muslims, a place must be provided for them. And I want to make this appeal. I don't know how else to make it, because there are universities that are now, the universities in Nigeria under you, Mr. President. Your good friend was Vice Chancellor in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. But now, universities have been so provincialized that the universities are now literally mere ethnic clubs of local. Of course, is that we cannot be a people. So when Nigerians talk about ethnicity and so on, it is because the government has not done enough to enforce that. Because if you insist that the vice chancellors, because the impression that governments create is that we built this university for this community. So you go to many universities, as I said, the governors, even in state universities, the governors take pride in ensuring that only our son. And that is why the universities have become so convoluted in Nigeria. Every day strike, every day strike. Because people who are holding the reins of power, many of them are not eminently necessarily qualified. They are just qualified by virtue of religion, or they are qualified by ethnicity. So I close by saying Nigeria needs to grow, Nigeria needs to develop, Nigeria needs to democratize. But that it is important that to make Nigerians treasure democracy, to make Nigerians feel confident about democracy, we must appreciate that the democratization of development, that is that the federal government must make sure that it says it has a map that tells where citizens are. Because if you don't democratize development, you cannot develop democracy. So my conclusion is that the democratization of development leads to the development of democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Of course, he has not disappointed us in any way. Those of us who have been following the trajectory, his antecedents, and what have you, he has not disappointed in any way. In fact, he has reinforced the statement he made just about 2 weeks ago about not having churches in some universities. I believe that statement was made by you about a week or 2 ago. Now we have eminent juries and political icons in the House to discuss the issue raised by our own Bishop Matthew. Of course, because our time is fast spent, our Papa, Chief Obasanjo, will speak last, and when he speaks, nobody speaks again here. To that extent, we will now call on our in-house panelists, and there are quite a number of them here, 6 of them. Because our time is fast spent, we are going to allot to you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to discuss the paper, so that the audience will have at least the opportunity to ask 3 questions. That is, the question will be distributed 1 here, 1 here, and 1 there. So that we'll save time, so that we can go and prepare for our lunch and tonight's dinner party. Now, in presenting his paper, which dovetailed in the need to democratize development, because we can democratize our polity, Bishop Kukah touched on a number of issues. He made reference to the American Constitution and the inspiration the Americans had in bringing about their constitution, ideological, historical, and the rest. But he concluded that our own constitution has no inspiration. It was a kind of ad hoc arrangement. Just gather for and some people go and put up the. And to him, those who found themselves in the Constitutional Assembly, saw it as a means to an end. So, without wasting your time, I will start with our own Femi Falana, State Advocate of Nigeria, who will speak to us on the issue raised, especially on the issue of corruption. For 3 minutes, Mr. Falana, please.
Thank you very much. Number one, let me congratulate Area Febabalola SN for bringing us together on this occasion, and to assure Bishop Kuka that the ugly past is not behind us. My Lord Bishop, I need his attention. My Lord Bishop, I'm saying that the ugly past is not behind us at all. Because today, the level of corruption in Nigeria has assumed a very dangerous dimension. We have a situation where highly placed public officers steal money meant for building hospitals, and people are dying on our roads. They steal money meant for ecology, to fight erosion, to deforest certain part of the country. So when a country gets to that stage, corruption is now a crime against humanity. And for the new government, the president must show leadership. Happily, the wife of the president said recently in Lagos, my family will have no problem with your money because we have made enough money. Therefore, I'm urging the president to lead an anti-corruption crusade so that this country, the largest concentration of black people on earth, can take its rightful place in the Committee of Nations. Right now, we are in trouble as a people. There is somebody here who was our president. If you were accused of corruption and your case was before the EFCC or the ICPC, you will not be appointed to a position of authority. We must go back to that era. Some of those who are going in and out of the villa are standing trial for looting the treasury of this country. So wrong signals must not be sent to our people and the international community. My Lord Bishop, and I tell you this all the time, don't agonize but organize, my Lord. If you know a university where there is a mosque and churches are not allowed, please go to court. It is discriminatory, it is illegal, and the court will come in. The other one on women, there is a judgment of the Federal High Court which is valid and subsisting, that women shall be given 35% appointment in all government institutions. The judgment is not being complied with. We hope the new government will look at this. The final one, again, my Lord, if anybody is killed in this country, either by armed robbers, kidnappers, or other criminal gangs, you can sue the government to prosecute the criminal elements, and if you cannot find them, you can sue the government to pay compensation to the family. A young boy was killed in Ghana through through drowning, the boy was drowned. And we approached the ECOWAS court, and the court ordered that $250,000 be paid to the parent. Not because the government of Ghana was guilty, but the court felt the government of Ghana did not punish those who were responsible for the drowning. Thank you very much.
We are seriously under pressure here. We have to speed up. And I want to appeal to us, the panelists, to keep to time. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Femi Falana. Now we go to the political issue raised by Bishop Kuka. And I'm happy we have the Deputy Vice Chancellor in the House. Now, sir, Nigeria is a country where some of our compatriots think what they do not know does not exist. To them, they know everything under the sun. We've had all sorts of experimentations. And Bishop Coker spoke about the inspirations which the American had, and we don't have any. Can you say one or two things on that, my brother Prof, and especially on the issue he raised? And please keep to time, 3 minutes. Give him the mic.
Thank you very much. I want to first of all say a big thank you to Bishop Kuka for the very compelling and powerful lecture. I'm a professor of international law, so I always like to ask, where does Nigeria stand in the League of Nations? The 2023 Global Rule of Law Index ranks Nigeria as 118 out of 140 countries in terms of rule of law, which is dangerously low. And one of the key factors is what is described as lack of constitutional legitimacy. Now, constitutional legitimacy is simply a question of how many Nigerians believe that the Constitution represents their will. The first line in every constitution says, "We the people." We the people. How many Nigerians believe that the 99th Constitution represents their wish? The answer is but a few. Constitutional legitimacy is about two things: the process through which the Constitution came to being in the first place, and the product itself. Process and product. The 99th Constitution was put together in 155 days by the Honorable Justice Nigitobi Committee. Of course, we understand that the exigencies of 1999, we all wanted to welcome democracy, may have led us to say, well, autochthony, homegrown constitution may not be our priority. But if the 99th Constitution were to be standing in front of us today as a human being, it is a human being that has gone through 50 stitches. It is not healthy. The 99th Constitution is a badly flawed document that does not represent the wish of the people. And I think if we really want to make progress as a country, we need to listen carefully to what Ààrẹ Babalola has been saying for years: the need to restructure, the need to revisit the badly flawed document called the 99th Constitution, the need to look at what other countries are doing. I'll end with an example of Kenya. Kenya had its election recently. Before the president was sworn in, the case was concluded. And everyone is praising them. How did they achieve this? That is thanks to the 2010 referendum, which led to an homegrown constitution. I think the Nigerian people deserve an homegrown constitution that represents their wishes. Thank you very much.
The DVC, thank you so much. Now, Bishop Kuka spoke about the need for us to democratize development across the country. He drew our attention to the fact that where he came from, the area of his origin, has no single federal infrastructure. and you are talking about democratization, according to him, that goes so far to buttress the great Greek, who said every question has more than one answer. To Bishop Kuka, democratization without development is no democracy. To Mr. Femfalana, Senator, we cannot make headway, but he believes that everything must resort to court rule. If you ask me, there will be so many responses, so many answers to those issues. Not many people will buy the idea postulated by Bishop Kuka when he was speaking about women, gender, and their demands of 35.5%. You know, we had in this country a president, I'm not mentioning anybody's name, who was a workaholic. He lives by example. He was president. When he gives you assignment, he will supervise what you are doing. We've had another president who doesn't supervise. They call one a dictator, and they call one an idle president. I leave it at that. So, to the issue of women gender, which Bishop Kuka alluded to, may I call on Mrs. Auma, Senior Court of Nigeria. Of recent, the women are practically taking over the legal profession.
Thank you very much.
Of recent, your compatriots in the sketch have taken over the legal profession. As a life bencher, I know as a fact that 65 to 67% of those who are calling to the bar are females.
Yes.
Now, speak to that against the background of the fact that practically all the Ministry of Justice in Nigeria today have been taken over by female lawyers. In this region, Southwest, 4 of our CJs are women. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Let me also congratulate Daddy on this auspicious occasion, and I pray for long life, and that those things you are still wishing to achieve, God will give you the grace to achieve them. Let me go into that. You have just brought out the judiciary alone, which appears to be doing well for women, and the statistics are there. In the Federal High Court, the Supreme Court, look at the percentage of women at the Supreme Court. Very low. Since the inception of the Supreme Court, only 8 women have risen to the Supreme Court, and only 1 had risen to be the Chief Justice of Nigeria. At the Court of Appeal, we've had 2 women in a row become the president of the Court of Appeal. At the state levels, well, very well. But if you look at the totality of the percentage, it is still very, very slow. It's very low. Because at the Federal High Court, we have only 26% of the judges as women. At the NICN, we have only about 25%. But summing it all, that is only the judiciary that has favored women. Maybe because women find the work of the judiciary easier. But come to core legal practice, how many women have risen to the top of the profession? Out of 73 senior advocates of Nigeria, only 33 are women. And many of these women are those in the academia, not in the core legal practice. But coming to the constitutional development of Nigeria, as the keynote speaker has said, women have not been treated fairly at all since the inception of democracy in Nigeria. And we have had cause to speak out, to cry, to present bills, to organize ourselves. But it has been from one poor state to a poorer state. Look at the present National Assembly. At the last National Assembly, there are about 10 at the Senate out of 109 senators. Now, as I speak, there are only 3 women at the Senate of Nigeria. At the House of Representatives, there are only 10 or 11 women out of 360 people there. So how have we fared when the Constitution of Nigeria guarantees equality in discrimination and gives equal treatment to men and women, and that we should not discriminate on account of sex? So what is the problem? The 5 bills that were presented to the National Assembly last year were all rejected. These were called gender bills. They were all rejected because we had the overpopulation of men at the National Assembly. One of the bills said, if a foreigner marries a Nigerian man, the man automatically may apply to naturalize. But if a foreigner marries a Nigerian woman, it is not possible for that man to naturalize. And we've been asking, and there's a court judgment on the 35% affirmation. But in all our governments, nothing has been done.
Thank you so
But
much.
let me give an example of Kwara State and Kogi State. In Kwara State, as I speak, there's a law on the affirmative action that every appointment in government of Kwara State must be filled by at least 33% of gender, male or female, and he backed it up with a law. In Kogi State, although there is no law, but what is currently happening is that the vice chairman of every local government in the 21 local government areas of Kogi State are women. The SSG is a woman, the head of service is a woman, and there is a systemic agenda to mainstream women into the governance. And so these people are growing. Can we replicate this in all governments of Nigeria and make women to grow?
Our time is far gone. Thank you. It's nice hearing that. It's nice hearing that, getting that information through you, that Kwara State has gone ahead other states. I hope the other states are taking note of that. Now, Chief Charles Idosewa, Syndic of Nigeria. Bishop Kuka spoke of the need to have men of integrity by his own estimation, the likes of Femfala and SAN and the likes of Abakuba that should be on the Supreme Court. Against the backdrop of the fact, which you know very well, that over the years, attempts have been made to inject people from the bar to the apex court without trying to praise our Papa, former President Olusegun Obasanjo. I am aware, by virtue of my position, that he made that attempt, but he did not see the light of the day. What is your contribution on this? On that, Bishop Kuka said there is a need. He said, among other things, that judiciary is in crisis. I now prefer some solutions that people will have confidence, by his own estimation, that people will develop confidence in the judiciary once they start having men like Femi Falana or Agbakoba. You heard him say that. Now, again, the backdrop of the fact that NBA and, in fact, our former president made attempts to inject people from the bar, from outside the mainstream. What is your contribution to that?
Well, I have read that question a few times. I think we've gotten it wrong because we have allowed the principles of appointment, judicial appointment, to be taken away from the constitutional principle of appointment to promotions. That is what it is now. If you read the words of the Constitution talks about appointment. Appointment. Somebody who's 10 years old becomes a High Court judge upon appointment. Somebody who's 15 years old goes to the Supreme Court upon appointment. I think 12 years for the Court of Appeal. But somehow,
In the works, an institution was created. They now brought other criteria for appointment of judges. So a judge who now wants to go to the Court of Appeal is waiting to be promoted from the High Court to the Court of Appeal. A judge wants to go to the Supreme Court is waiting to be promoted from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. That is not what the Constitution provided. Otherwise, why shouldn't a brilliant Attorney General go to the Supreme Court, just like Justice Namani did? Why wouldn't a brilliant professor go to the Supreme Court, like Brandeis did? Yeah, yes, like did. You know, so when they created those other criteria, in fact, the feeling is not that if you're a legal practitioner, you have no place in the Supreme Court. I remember a few years ago when I was part of the NBA screening committee to screen some legal practitioners for appointment to the Supreme Court. I think that was also, the way that was done was also wrong, in the sense that people were asked to apply to be appointed to the Supreme Court. I refused to apply. You don't apply to be appointed to the Supreme Court. So guess what happened? All sorts of applications came.
You get nominated.
Oh, hold on. A deputy chief registrar, who's not yet a high court judge, was applying to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Somebody who works in the bank, because he has 15 years at the bank, was applying to be appointed to the Supreme Court. You know, so all sorts of, it became an affair for all comers. But the truth is this. Let us keep fidelity with the ways of the Constitution that says the President appoints a justice of the Supreme Court upon a recommendation of the NJC. But the way it is now, we've turned it on its head. If the NJC doesn't recommend, you do not appoint. So where is the power of appointment when a recommendation can override it? But even though, then it's nowhere. So we keep getting people with bad habits from the magistracy up to the Supreme Court. I'm not calling any names, I've not said anything. But my point is that if you have somebody who had already acquired bad habits in the magistracy, promoted to the High Court, compounded the bad habits, promoted to the Court of Appeal, they ultimately get to the Supreme Court. What magic are you looking for when the person gets to the Supreme Court? Is it going to meet his epiphany in the Supreme Court to say, oh, I'm not a good judge because I've been promoted, I'm not in the Supreme Court? It doesn't work like that.
Thank you so much, Fedeso. As soon as of Nigeria. The law remains as it is. The presidency has the power to appoint justices of the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. The governorcy has the power to appoint judges of the state high court. But everything depends on political will. Thank you so much. And the last issue talked by Bishop Kuka, which is going to be addressed by our own President of the Court of Appeal, Ekiti State, Justice Toyin Bodunde, is the social issue, the needs for social justice. And he made reference to discrimination. Can you say one or two on that? Because our host of today, our celebrant, has written so much on that. For those of us who have been following Reverend Wala's writings on the pages of newspapers, he had over the years spoken about social justice. Can we hear from you?
Thank you very much, my silky brother and moderator. And I'm standing on all existing protocols because of time. I really did not know why I was brought up to the podium. But I want to say that I trust that it must have been the celebrant's decision, because on one or two occasions, as a father and a daughter, we have had one or two discussions about using law as social engineering or social justice, like you said. From example of Baba, we can say that he has used law not only as a legal practitioner, but he has used law in education, in medicine, in business, and the examples abound. For me personally, law must have a social face. And one of the areas that it can have a social face without being a judge in my own case is the area that my learned sister still talked about. I would say that Ekiti has done very well. There was a time in this state when I used to be the only female judge, when the likes of Honorable Justice Omoleye, Justice Fasomi were appointed as judges of the Court of Appeal. And then for 14 years, there was a coma in appointments of women as judges. And then between last year and now, we now have 3 female judges, 2 in the High Court. I was appointed from the High Court to pioneer the newly created Customary Court of Appeal, and I have another female judge. So it is not doing badly. However, like I know my father, the celebrant, who wants me to be courageous today to talk about, there is an issue, an area where we can use law as social justice, and that is the area of the access to justice and the devices, if I want to say, that is still linked to some of our cultural and traditional practices. What do I mean? Like in the area of female genital mutilation, for instance, and widowhood practices. This is Ekiti. We have done very well with other aspects of gender-based violence. But the issue of female genital mutilation, the issue of our widowhood practices needs to be visited. And these are things that are not of common law nature. They are rooted in our practices. So it is an opportunity to appeal to our royal fathers. Kábíyèsí sirs, Adé apẹ́ lórí yín sà o, bàtà apẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀. It is an area that they can come in to help stakeholders in the administration of justice to look at. Female genital mutilation is a no-no in Ekiti State.
Thank you, my Lord. Good. As we are rounding up, I've been told that my brother said, Fefalano, has an information to give. Just information, 1 minute.
Mr. Chairman, because we are talking of discrimination against women, in Lagos now, men are complaining of reverse discrimination. Out of 69 judges in Lagos, High Court judges, only 24 are men, 45 are women. Wait. Out of 152 magistrates, 44 are men, 108 are women.
Because this is very important topic. And I want to thank Bishop Uka for the points he made on this subject, constitutionalism and democracy. Well, he said he wants to beg you to keep quiet. Can I beg you? You see, you don't have to beg them. I can beg them. Thank you very much for keeping quiet. Bishop Kuka made very cogent and valid points. Constitutionalism, he said there's no perfect constitution. Democracy, it is a journey, it's not a destination. But constitutionalism, no matter what constitution you have, and democracy, no matter the system that you employ in your democratic way of life, if you do not have good governance, which must be the outcome of your constitutionalism and your democracy, then you are not going anywhere. And he made the point too, that then to get good governance, it will depend on those who are operating your constitution and who are managing your democracy. And that is very important. The people who are operationalizing your constitution and your democracy. And the point in Nigeria, which I have seen, which I can attest to, is most of the people who are supposed to be operationalizing or managing and seeing the constitution and democracy move forward, they are actually the ones who undermine constitution and democracy. Let me give an example here. All elected people by our constitution, their emolument is supposed to be fixed by revenue mobilization and commission. But our lawmakers set that aside and they make law and put any emolument for themselves. Even if that is constitutional, it is not moral. And of course, it is neither constitutional nor moral. Now, when you have a situation like that, then what do you say of constitution, which is breached by those who are supposed to be guardians of constitution and democracy? That is one. The thing again that is, to me is very important is there are so many other aspects of our constitution that are actually absolutely ignored. Take federal character. We have Federal Character Commission. I don't know if Federal Character Commission has come out to find anybody guilty of not really keeping federal character. Have they all kept federal character? Of course, no. Of course, no. Now, the point is that if you leave the Constitution breached, then, of course, you know what happens next. Bishop Kuka talked a lot about the American Constitution. And the first point about American Constitution, he talked about every person being born equal. Not even every citizen. Every person who lives in America, whether you are a citizen or not, you are supposed to be enjoying the constitutional rights of America. But with us, the constitution is breached. We have no democracy that delivers. Your democracy must deliver the dividend of democracy. And if your democracy does not deliver the dividend of democracy, then it becomes anything goes. Anything goes for anybody. So I believe that constitutionalism, democracy must lead to good governance, and good governance must deliver for the welfare and the well-being of the people. That is what the Constitution, democracy, and all the other things are meant to achieve. But this I will also say, leadership at all levels requires certain things. Character, understanding, knowledge, sacrifice. And if these are not there, we are deceiving ourselves. No matter what constitution we have, no matter what sort of democracy we practice, all these must lead to one thing and one thing only: the welfare, the well-being, the prosperity, the security of the people. And if we cannot manage diversity, which we seem not to be able to manage, it doesn't matter what you talk about constitution, it doesn't matter what you talk about democracy. In fact, like one young man said to me, he said, "Now democracy will go chop. If he has nothing to eat, if he has no job, if he has no security, and you are telling him of democracy, the answer you will get is that now democracy man go chop." Democracy doesn't mean anything to any man who is hungry. Democracy doesn't mean anything to any man whose life is in danger. Democracy does not mean anything to any man whose property is being destroyed. Democracy, constitutionalism, democracy, good governance must lead to the welfare and well-being of all the people, particularly the common people.
This song is dedicated to our Papa, Are Afe Babalola. He is the blessing to the whole nation and to the world at large. So please sit back and enjoy.
stand on the existing protocol. But because of the lack of time, I will not want to go into the detail of this book review. We'll give the specific that are most important. One of the things that I recognize this today is that while the biological fathers, the biological children of our daddy was recognized, some of us that are the adopted sons and daughters were not recognized. Are is a father to all of us. It's a great privilege for me to review this book today, the book titled The Diamond at the Bar, which is a celebration of the life and times of our father and 60 years as a lawyer in this country. I am delighted to stand here today to review this book. And without wasting more time, I want to go into the nitty-gritty and the ingredients in this book. The Diamond at the Bar is a 416-page book with 53 chapters. In terms of appearance and aesthetics, I must say that it is a well-produced book. As an author and publisher myself, I must commend the editors and publisher for this feat. The book is easy to read and well printed. The font used in printing the book is friendly to the eye, and one does not need to strain the eyes to read it. The starting point in my review is scenic features of this book, which I don't want to waste time on it, because the book is here, you are going to see it. So I don't want to go into the aesthetics of this book to tell you what it contains. My learned brother, Professor Michael Zikume, authored the foreword to this book. And if you read the foreword, it's encompassing, very detailed in terms of what the book contains and the importance of this book. It's also to be noted that His Excellency Governor Biodu Oyembaji gave a detailed and engaging piece, which is an eye-opener on what our father here stands for today. I found in the course of reading the governor's chapter a narrative of how Are indirectly contributed to the governor's academic success in the university, which is related to here today, and also what the governor told us today about the role of our father in the formation of this state, in the founding of this state, is also contained in this book. If you get it, you get the real details there. And also in chapter 3, we have the written by our leader in the bar, Shiwole Olanikweku, who is a commander of the Federal Republic. He reviews so many facts about our father here today, the celebrant, which are contained in chapter 3 of the book. You read it, you get all the details. Because of time, I will not be able to give you all the details as contained in this write-up. The unique things you are going to discover in the piece contributed by His Excellency Babatunde Fashola is in chapter 4. It contains the celebration of Are himself and his contribution to arbitration in Nigeria. What he stands for in the arbitration in Nigeria is a contribution given by Babatunde Fashola, SAN, former Governor Lagos State and former Minister of the Federal Republic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if you want to discover an intimate portrait of Are as a father and in the house and in the office, you should look no further. Read what Prince Lateef Fagbemi wrote in page 47 to 55 of the book. And then also you read what our Bishop Kuka also wrote, The Future of Constitutional Democracy in Nigeria, Imperative of a New Constitutional Order. This is the lecture we got today. Some of them are also contained in the book. Then there is also a contribution by Most Reverend Felix Femi Ajekaye. Is a chapter also in this book. When you get it, you read it. Then we have contribution for His Imperial Majesty Oba Adeyeye Enito Oguwusi, who also came here to display today for us in celebration of our father. Our royal host for today, the Ewi of Adekiti, Oba Rufus Adejube, is also very categorical in what he wrote about our father today. Is also contained in the book. The same sentiments he echoed also was stated by his Oba Dr. Adesanya Adejare, the Alaye Obalufun Alaemo of Efun State. He also stated the role and the importance of this celebration in the life of our daddy today. Also, there are so many things written about the judiciary here. They are also contained in this book, particularly if you look at page 172 of the book. We have a contribution by His Lordship, Justice Ayodeji Daramola. They are also contained in this book. This book practically contains so many contributions by eminent jurists, eminent professors, and legal practitioners in this country. It's encompassed in this book. The like of Professor Zekome is also there. Our father in the profession, Chief Adeyego Awomolo, also made a contribution. You see the contribution of people like Joseph Bodorin Daudu and Chief Akin Olijimi. Our father also in the profession, the former Minister of the Federal Republic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without wasting our time here, you will know that the review will not be complete if I fail to highlight the contributions of 4 Amazons, because we are talking of women power today. We discussed about women power. There are contributions by women here. My senior, Mrs. Funke Adekoya, SAN, and also Yeye Asiwaju Victoria Awomolo. Ladies make very good contributions in this book that we are going to launch today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if I may allow also today, we need to acknowledge one thing here today, that our father we are talking about today, which has all these readings, all these commentaries, all these praises today we are celebrating, that is a daddy to all of us. I will call him the Daddy General of the Federal Republic and the Commonwealth. Everything that he stands for in the society are encompassed here. People have been giving their own testimony. I also want to state here that I'm a beneficiary of his generosity. Anytime I come to visit him here, he will try to give me transport money. When I say, Daddy, I am loaded, I carry money, he say, you must receive your own. So I will gladly refer to him today as a father whose humility has humbled all of us. He is a father whose intellect has dwarfed all of us. His moral will moralize all of us. His generosity has brought us pure joy. He is an area father. He is a father without jurisdiction. He is a father at large. Our man we are celebrating today is a father without jurisdiction. This book is loaded. I recommend it for all of you, and I wish you happy reading. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, good afternoon, sirs. Our Royal Majesty is here. I greet all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here representing Dr. Taiwo Afolabi, who should have been here himself personally, but lost somebody yesterday morning, so he couldn't make this trip. So if you permit me, let me read his goodwill message before I now do the launching of the book. These remarks of Dr. Taiwo Olayinka Afolabi, MON, CON, the chief launcher at the public representation of the Diamond at the Bar, a chronicle of lessons and values from the life of Are Afe Babalola. Your Excellencies, let me start by congratulating our father, the celebrant and the honoree of today, Are Afe Babalola, the Are Bamofin of Yoruba land, on this milestone anniversary of his call to the Bar of England and Wales. To attain 60 years at the Bar is a very standard landmark, When we recall that in public service, 60 years is the age of retirement, we can then better appreciate the event of today. It means, in effect, that anyone born in 1963, the same year that Are was called to the bar, will be leaving the public service this year. In other words, Are Afe Babalola has been a lawyer for the whole of the life of many of our public servants. That is a huge achievement. We have all listened with rapt attention to Dr. Ogu James Onoja, son, our distinguished book reviewer. As the learned senior advocate of Nigeria, expertly provided us with a critical review of the book, The Diamond at the Bar, a chronicle of lessons and values from the life of Are Afe Babalola. I cannot but agree with Dr. Onoja that the list of the contributors represents the Hall of Fame in Nigeria. I don't think there's a name of any of the contributors that is not familiar to even the younger child in the country. From our father, Baba Olusegun Obasanjo, to Governor Abiodun Oyebanji, to KBSC the Ooni of Ife, to KBSC the Ewe of Ado, to KBSC the Alaye of Efon Alaye, and then to my lords, Bishop Kuka and Bishop Ala Ajakaye, then to the doing of the legal profession, Asiwaju Wole Oladipekun, Asiwaju Adegboyega Owomolo, Chief Akin Olujimi, Chief J.B. Daudu, and others too numerous to mention. For all these giants of our country to come together to produce this monumental book in honor of Are is certainly a testimonial to Are's gigantic achievements. This is not my first time of visiting Abuad. I've come here at the instance of Are some years ago. However, I must admit that I was more than marveled at the tremendous changes that taken place between the last time I was here and what I'm witnessing here today. I could not believe my eyes at the giant structures that have since sprung up all over the campus. If my recollection is correct, the white rock which now houses Baba's offices was not there some years ago. There was also no Afe Babalola's multi-systems hospital when I came here the last time. There was also no Abode Industrial Park at the time. And now, in a twinkle of an eye, Are has waved the magic wand, and an African forest has been transformed into a city. I do not think I've come across any other institution, be it public or private, that is growing at such a supersonic speed. In his concluding remarks, Dr. Onoja's son said something which makes an impact on me. He said that the book we are unveiling today is a book that documents the human and leadership principles Are Afe Babalola has lived his life by, as recorded by selected illustrious people who have been privileged to interact with him. That's a profound statement. It means, in effect, that anyone who aspires to be a legend and a giant in his profession must get a personal copy of this book. I believe that it is a book like this that we must encourage our children and students to be reading at this critical junction of our national history. The younger generation must understand that there is no shortcut to success. They must understand that it was not only Rome that was not built in a day. The impressive and prestigious Afe Babalola University was also not built overnight. It takes vision, tenacity, and hard work to become a success. Your Excellencies, it is the light of the foregoing that in launching this book, I will want to donate copies of the book to Abbott Library, as well as the Library of University of Lagos, where I obtained my LLB degree, the Library of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, where I was given my first honorary doctorate degree, the Library of Nigerian Law School, where I was called to the bar, and other universities across the country. It is my hope that the book will become a recommended reading text in all our institutions of higher learning. I believe that this is one of the best ways to ensure that the lessons from the life of our Are Afe Babalola become a national ethic. I thank you for listening, and I congratulate our Are Afe Babalola on this lifetime achievement. So in launching this book, I've been directed to launch some copies of this book with 10 million naira. Thank you very much.
with the unveiling of the book, may I very quickly invite the representative of First Bank, the representative of Union Bank, Fidelity Bank.
And also find out from whoever is unlucky to get a copy from me, then I'm going to call them to make sure they have read the book. I'm going to take, since I said I wasn't going to announce anyway. No. I'll talk to my friend. My friends are there. Just be sure I'm going to buy copies handsomely.
I want to stand on existing protocol. I am going to launch the book on behalf of some of my friends who are also Baba's children. Together, we'll put together $500,000. Myself and those friends, I won't list them now. But we'll put together $500,000 and launch it.
Last son, a parent of the university, on behalf of myself, my wife, and the entire members of my organization, Top Fingers Investment Limited, Nigeria and China, we are going to launch 10 of the books with 5 million naira. I'd like to speak on behalf of Crown Hospital and Oroki Hospital, and we are putting down a sum of $500,000 naira.
And on behalf of the society, I, Engineer Margaret Oguntala, the Deputy President-elect, hereby launch the book. We'll take 5 books for 500,000 naira.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we've done justice to protocol today. So I won't bore us with protocol other than to especially appreciate everyone who had come here this afternoon, in fact since this morning, to celebrate not just the great icon, but the greatest icon of all time in this legal profession as far as this country is concerned. And I think it is important that I have the opportunity to do this at this point in time on behalf of the Nigerian Bar Association. I must especially appreciate and celebrate our father, our mentor, our revered leader, our pathfinder, our Afe Babalola, CON, and several titles to follow, who is celebrating the 60th anniversary of his call to the bar. It is not a regular celebration. And with my very little years at the bar, I have not witnessed this kind of celebration. And I'm talking about the 60th anniversary being celebrated by any, not that people have not clocked 60 at the bar, but very, very few can stand tall in good health, graciously celebrating 60 at the bar, and with all grace that God has endowed him or her with. But Baba Afe Babalola is an exception, and this is indeed an auspicious occasion, because we are all here as witnesses to what God has done in the life of our Baba. And that is why we must, as the Bar Association, join others to celebrate our Baba. I am here as the General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, representing the Nigerian Bar Association. and of course, the President of Nigerian Bar Association, who unfortunately is unavoidably absent today. On the 27th page of the brochure, the goodwill of the President of Nigerian Bar Association is in the brochure. However, it is important that I read about 2 or 3 paragraphs, because I don't want to waste too much time, of what the President's message is to Baba Are Afe Babalola. Paragraph 2 of the message reads thus: Are Afe Babalola is a man of many parts, a legal practitioner par excellence, a farmer, economist, philanthropist, educationist, a trailblazer, and so much more. The highly decorated legal icon has in his 60 years at the bar a worthy elder, illustrious, and exemplary member at that, contributed immensely to the development of our jurisprudence in various areas of law. Are has also shaped countless legal minds who passed through his law firm or crossed paths with him over the years, many of whom have risen to become judges, senior advocates of Nigeria, and very successful legal practitioners in public and private sectors. We all saw the very bright legal minds I found out earlier representing the Emmanuel Chambers. Among them was a Minister of Justice, former Minister of Justice. A couple of them were Attorney Generals of various states. We had judges among them. This is what Emmanuel Chambers represents. And that is what Are Afe Babalola represents. He has produced, more than any firm in Nigeria, the highest number of senior advocates of Nigeria. I think we should do better than that. He deserves a better round of applause. He has also produced, more than any firm in Nigeria, judges of various courts in Nigeria. And it is on this note, because of time that we do not have at our disposal, that I would like to read the second to the last paragraph of the President's goodwill. What is perhaps the most outstanding of all the laudable achievements is the massive, deliberate, and conscious investment in all the sectors of our national life. As a farmer, Baba was the recipient of the 2014 African Man of the Year for Food Security Award. He is the highest private investor in Ekiti State. With the establishment of one of the fastest growing and top-rated private universities on the African continent, whose graduates are recognized and sought after across the world, Are affirms his belief in the future of this country and has permanently etched his name in gold. Are Afe Babalola is a name that we all are familiar with, but notwithstanding, it is important that I mention that I, by virtue of my opportunity to head what we called in Ife at that time, and I believe it's still in existence, Equity Chambers, met Baba first time in my life in 1997 as a student of Babalola University. And since then, he has been a great mentor. Since then, I've followed his travesty and of course trajectories in the legal profession. And that is why, to the glory of God, when I was contesting to become General Secretary, I visited Baba to tell him I was going to run for General Secretary. And Baba gave me assurance that I will not only win, but he will support my election handsomely. Unfortunately, I didn't go back for that support. But to the glory of God, Baba, thank you so much for the encouragement. And by the grace of God, by your encouragement, I'm now the General Secretary of Nigerian Bar Association. We are all here to celebrate you. We will continue to celebrate you. We thank God for His grace in your life. Thank God for His glory over your life. And by the grace of God, you will still be here to do more and do us proud more. Thank you very much.
You can't go without announcing a donation.
By virtue of the fact that I am the General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, and I will announce a donation, but not in figure, that Nigerian Bar Association will launch this book handsomely. And that information, once I consult with the president, will pass across to the organizer.
Who is going to speak on your behalf?
All protocols duly observed. After being inspired by our founders' quotes, on behalf of all the students, we would like to donate something towards our founders' book launch, and we'll be donating a sum of 20,000 naira. Thank you.
This is the day the Lord has made, and you are witnesses to the events of today, to be part of history, recorded one, and the history to be written in the future. I stand on the existing protocol, but permit me to especially thank a number of people, even though I'm thanking everybody generally. I'm in particular today grateful to God, who has made it possible for me to traverse the universe. I've gone around the world. I knew what poverty was. I conquered poverty. And through God, I've invested in education, because education is power. Without the power of education, I won't be what I am today. When I studied privately and obtained BS Economics of London University privately, I had the opportunity to serve in civil service. At that time, the white men were the permanent secretaries in Western region. He called me into his office. He said, the land that you passed BS Economics of London University at home. At that time, there was no economics in the university. The only university we had, which was University of Ibadan. I said, yes. And I gave him my result. I said, congratulations. We are going to promote you to the position of Senior Assistant Secretary, which at that time was equivalent to that of district officers, manned usually by white men. My answer was, no, sir. I said, why? I want to study law. The man looked at me. But to study privately for defense degree, yes. Want to start all over again, yes. I said, good luck to you. But if you pass your LLB and BL and come to the civil service for employment, we won't employ you again because you have resigned once. So don't worry, sir. I will never come back to the civil service. That's how I left. And privately, I studied for my law degree of London University and with honors. Today we have representatives of London University here. Please stand up for recognition. Representatives of London University, stand up for recognition. Please give them a round of applause. That's not loud enough, please. Thank you for coming to Nigeria. Thank you for witnessing this event. Thank you for what you have done in my life. God bless you. See you. I have with me here a man who made it possible for me to take interest in establishing a university. I was very, very successful in my law practice. working for the biggest oil companies in the country, making a lot of money, charging only dollars. I didn't charge naira. So he invited me to come and become a minister. He called me to economy, special room. I told him, I don't want to leave my private practice. He persuaded me. I said, no, sir. But he loved me so much. They studied me so much that he now called on me and said, look, let me have one of your juniors to be a minister. That was how I recommended Olujimi, who told just now, to become a minister. And the man who made that possible also asked me later to take over the position of the Pro-Chancellor of the University of Lagos because there was corruption there. I agreed on condition that I will not collect the usual salary or allowances paid to pro-chancellors. He said, that's your business. If you don't want to take money, good luck to you, but help us. I agreed. I was there for about 7 years. And I brought in my clients, Bulos Bajar and so on, tried the rules and put up my own structure, and so on and so forth. It was there I knew, with my eyes open, the problems we have in this country in education. It was there I knew why people, graduates from public universities, were not employed by my clients to share this and that. We prefer people who trained overseas. That man is here today. He was a man who, when he became president, saw that we are deep in debt. And he went around the world for 2 years, begging those we owed money to forgive us or reduce the debt. He succeeded, and Nigeria became a strong country financially. That man is here today, and I will ask him to please stand up for special recognition and thank you. President Obasanjo, please stand up. President Obasanjo, stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. Face the people. Face the people, not face me. Face them. Please give me a round of applause. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you, so you can go back to your seat. Indeed, I thank everybody here. There's nobody who is not important. You're all important. I knew what you went through to get to this place. The roads are bad. I'm aware of it. There's no airport. I'm aware of it. But I have got in touch with the new governor of this state. And the new governor is here with me. Since I started this university, there is no governor that has sat with us throughout our ceremony. Please stand up for recognition, sir. Thank you. You saw him when he said, I'm his father. You saw him when he said, that it was a secretary carrying my bag when we were fighting for the state. Apparently, he too is not happy with the state of the economy of the state. I have spoken to him, and I want to divulge a secret. Please listen. I told him, like I said when I wanted to start this university, that an airport is necessary to develop any place. Go through Europe and North America and so on. Have planes from place to place because it's very safe. When I wanted to start this university, Governor Oni, I hope he's still around. Are you here? Governor Oni is gone. Oh, come out, come out. Stand there then. Give me a round of applause, please. Oh, I'm blessed for your coming to see the ceremony. It was a white woman, a West Indian, who came to me at Ibadan. She asked me to please build a special library for her in a village called Ayidepo, 9 miles from Ibadan. And I did. Then she invited the governor of your state and important people to the commissioning. As I said, the road is about 9 miles from Tad. The community leader then asked me if I could build a university in that place for the library. And the community said they were going to give me land. The governor stood up and said, we will give you light, we will give you road, we will give you water. The following day, this newspaper in Nigeria carried the news. Afebala University will start at Ayedepo next year. He was the governor of the state then. He saw the newspapers. He bought them, rushed to Ibadan. Okay? I said, yes. You want to build a university in Ibadan? I told him the facts. Even though he was governor, he prostrated. He said, sir, please bring it to Ado-Ekiti. I said, will you be able to comply with the conditions given to me by the governor? Road, water, electricity. Of course, there was airport at Ibadan. He said yes. He left. I didn't want to do it. Then he went to His Royal Highness, the Olu of Ado-Ekiti, I think he's still there too, to appeal to him, to beg me. They all came to Ibadan again. They repeated the same request. I said I had, but I didn't consent. Then they went to my mother. It was too much for me. I agreed to bring this university to this place because of this man, because of this man. Not done. He went to President Jonathan, who was then the president of this country, and told him he needed an airport in Ado-Ekiti. The president agreed, but he said that he was going to create 4 airports. One in his hometown, one in Ado-Ekiti, one in Rivers, and one in the north. Ladies and gentlemen, all the other 3 are working today. What happened to the one promised to Ado-Ekiti? The president immediately released about 680 million to start the airport here. Unfortunately, had an election petition filed against him by Dr. Fayemi, and the result came out, he lost. That went to Cuba. That new governor now said, airport is not my priority. And that's how we lost that time. Please give me a round of applause for everything. Thank you. That is why up to today, you can go to your seat, we still do not have an airport. But in view of my new governor, who is here, and what I told him, Your Excellency, President Obasanjo, you are listening to me, I've decided to support the government financially to ensure that the airport, which was half done, will be operational within the next few months by the grace of God. You have been here for a long time. Thank you very much. I have a speech that I'm not going to deliver in a speech anymore, except to say that this country is not the same country when I studied law and when I came back and practiced law. The judiciary of which I made then is not the same judiciary. And therefore, we won't go through details, but I have some suggestions which I think anybody would agree with me are necessary for today. First, I do not agree that the subject is imperative. The future of constitutional democracy in Nigeria is imperative of a new constitutional order. We do not a new constitutional order. No. It is true that people who make government are the people who run the government. But it's also true that you cannot have a constitution which can be run by even an angel when that constitution is for a country of nations. Nigeria is not one country. It's a country of more than 300 nations and tribes. You need a new constitution which will allow each part to develop at its own rate. And at the same time, a nation will now evolve from that constitution. If a Niger comes to this country today, it cannot run this country well because of the constitution we have, which allows each certain section to rule the country. It's not possible. So my own suggestion is that we need a new constitution immediately, and that constitution must be similar to the one which the leaders, in their own wisdom, after 10 years of deliberation in London, agreed to, which was a true fall. And you cannot do it without a new constitution. I have about 3 cases myself filed in respect of matters arising from the university. Do you know, for the past 4 years, these cases have been on. We have some judges here. The High Court has not been able to sit for many months. Why? Because they are handling what they call election petitions. Election petitions should not be handled by sitting judges. They should be decided only by committees set up consisting of senior advocates and retired judges. In that case, the regular court will not close down. That's my first observation. Second observation, of course, is remuneration of judges. No senior advocate who is worth its salt who's making money the way I did, who want to go and apply to become a judge. For what? What the judges in Nigeria earn, speeches compared with others and overseas. There is urgent need under the new constitution to improve their salaries of judges. Thirdly, admission to law is important because it is the type of student who admit to the university that will train out and become lawyers. In many countries in the world, study of law is restricted to only those who have obtained a degree in the liberal subject. My advice is that henceforth, under the new constitution, in the case of law degrees, nobody should be allowed to study law in any university unless he has a degree in a liberal subject. Then, in this country today, if you have a case in Supreme Court, they last you 8 years before you get judgment. High Court even more. In the case of Supreme Court, we should adopt what we were doing before. The Supreme Court used to go around the regions. And I will also suggest that the same thing should be done by the Supreme Court now. When they go around, every month they go around whatever, they will clear all the backlog cases. But right now, litigants are totally dissatisfied with our court system. And this is one of the causes of poverty among lawyers now. Law profession is not one for beggars. It's not a profession for wretched people. What attracted me to law was the fact that the lawyers at that time were the people who were riding the best cars, were most dignified people, and when you saw a lawyer, you would off your heart for him. I'm proud of law, but we need to do a lot of reform in our law system. Once more, let me tell you, we have food ready for you. And in the evening, by the grace of God, at about 7:30, we will have on the bandstand here the most illustrious, the most resourceful singer and player. I want to come and join us. We dance to appreciate what God has done for me and for you. God bless you all. Safe journey back home. And before I leave, I hope you appreciate me. Nigeria is big, it can be great. Don't lose hope. Get us to work for. Let me have music as well for. Okay.
Olúwa dá bàbá sí fún wa. Olúwa dá bàbá sí fún wa. Bàbá o, bàbá o, bàbá o.
of 60. 1, 40, 55, 58, 59, 60. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow.
For he's a jolly good fellow. And so they are.
And so say all of us. And so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow.
For those of you who may not see, I hope the cameras are showing. Chief Obasanjo is cutting pieces of the cake now. To all around, he's the one serving them personally. He's taking a piece. Everybody is getting a piece of this cake. Chief Obasanjo is showing his culinary prowess as a good presidential chef this afternoon. He's doing a good job. Another piece comes out. The people now to his left are getting a piece. Dr. Usman Abubakar Jos, the Vice Chancellor, and many of the dignitaries there are getting a piece of this cake. Yes. So now, I get the biggest one. Thank you very much, Baba. Thank you very much, Baba. So this is my copy, my piece of the cake. Please remember, whilst we're waiting for the vote of thanks to come, dinner this evening is 7:30, 8 o'clock later. And just in case, it will not be as loaded as this, because we're going to have King Sunny Ade on the dance band. King Sunny Ade on the dance band. So we ask all of us, go back now, recharge, and come back. Yeah.
Highnesses, senior advocates of Nigeria, learned colleagues, all our distinguished guests, on behalf of the organizing committee, I wish to thank you all for your contribution, your presence to the success of this event. Many people work tirelessly for the success of this program. Time will fail me if I begin to mention them. Let me single out Baba's family, the university community, and many others. Thank you very much for your contributions. Finally, to our principal, Ariafe Babalola, we thank you for the opportunity given us to organize this event. We wish you longer life and good health. Thank you all for coming. We wish you journey masses back home. Thank you very much.
Henry here. Henry, the main anchor for this event. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you the man we are celebrating today. The whole essence of our 20,000 lawyers. A man who rejected the offer of ministerial appointment twice, including an oil block. The last time I checked, this man has produced about 1,500 law graduates as at 2022 graduation in this university. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the celebrant, Ààrẹ Afẹ́ Babalọ́lá. Seated regularly to his left-hand side is his wife, our mother in this community, Yeye Aremodupe Balola. We appreciate you, ma'am. Coming to this side of the arena, we have our Vice Chancellor in the house, Professor Smaranda Olarinde. We appreciate you. I can see the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Professor Sylvester Ojo. We appreciate you, sir. His twin brother, even though he's eminently younger than he is, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Damilola Alawi, SAN. We appreciate you, the Registrar, Lady Christy Oluborode. We appreciate you. In no particular order, I can see the CMD. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo. He has been around. He played significant roles this morning and is here again with his friend and brother, Otumba Fashawe. You are heartily welcome, sir. I want to especially welcome all Emmanuelites in the house. You are heartily welcome. We appreciate you. Thanks for your support for our leader.
For a special round of applause for our celebrant. I won't call him the birthday boy, but when you're 60, in whatever shape or form, we celebrate it as a birthday of sorts. And so please, if you would help me, let us put our hands together so that the heavens can join us in acknowledging the good task of our father, our celebrant, Are Afe Babalola, for all he has done for humanity. Let's keep it going. Thank you all very, very much. As always, as is the case, and we can tell in all of the times that I have compared events and seen Baba Olusegun Obasanjo attend, I haven't seen him sit down for so long as much as he's done today. And to crown it all this evening, he's also here giving ample support to our celebrant. And for this, we want to give him another huge big round of applause. What if I say that we haven't done justice to that applause for our former leader? May I ask us to put our hands together again for Chief Olusegun Matthew Okikiola Obasanjo GCFR. And of course, all I'd like to do this evening, there's going to be a lot of dancing. We are going to find out who is defying age and gravity and movements here. So, for all of the laughter that is to come, for all of the excitement that this evening holds, for many of us who are here this evening, we want to thank you for being a great part of history. Ladies and gentlemen, with your kind permission, therefore, let me invite Chief Olusegun Obasanjo to play the role of this evening's chairman as he comes forward to welcome us. One more time, a round of applause for the Baba of Africa.
Ní orúkọ ààrẹ àti ní orúkọ ìyàwó ààrẹ àti ní orúkọ gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ààrẹ àti ní orúkọ gbogbo àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ ààrẹ. Ni mo wá síwájú to thank all of you, for doing honor to whom honor must be done. Some of you, or if not most of you, were here in the morning and in the afternoon. It was very, very splendid. Very, very splendid. this evening, it is a continuation of what we did in the morning and in the afternoon. In the morning and in the afternoon, it was more of a serious business. But while we were doing the serious business, we were also relaxing. But this evening, it is relaxing with little or no serious business. Ẹni bá máa jójó, á jó. Ẹni bá mú oúnjẹ jẹ, á jẹ. Ẹni bá máa parada, á dá. But for all this, all that Ààrẹ has attained, has achieved, the lives he has touched, the fulfillment that he has had, there is only one being to thank for this. And that is Ọlọ́run Olódùmarè, ọlọ́wọ́ gbọgbọrọ tí yọmọ ẹ̀ lọ́fìn. We have nobody else to thank but God Almighty. Ààrẹ, mo bá yín yọ̀, mo bá yín dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run Olódùmarè. Sànni o, mo ló wà. Ń ṣe ni o jẹ́ agbára ààrẹ dúpẹ́. Àbáyọ, lábàáyọ, ọpẹ́ mi kò ì tó.
Ọpẹ́ mi kò ì tó. Ojoojúmọ́ ni wọ́n máa dúpẹ́. Ọpẹ́ mi kò ì tó. Ojoojúmọ́ ni wọ́n máa yọ̀. Ọmọ dúpẹ́. Ọpẹ́ mi kò ì tó. Ojoojúmọ́ ni wọ́n máa yọ̀. Ó yẹ ká dúpẹ́. Ó yẹ ká dúpẹ́. Ó yẹ ká dúpẹ́. Ó yẹ ká dúpẹ́. Àrà sán, atẹ́gùn fẹ́. Ìjìjà kò gbé wa lọ. Ó yẹ ká dúpẹ́. 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 Àrà sán, atẹ́gùn fẹ́. Ìjìjà kò gbé wa lọ. Ó yẹ ká dúpẹ́. Gbogbo yìí mo kí n wò lọ́lọ́ bí kankan. Ẹ̀kú ìkàlẹ̀, ẹ̀kú ìkàlẹ̀, gbogbo yìí la kí. A ò lọ́lọ́ di ẹni torí ìṣọ̀ládé. Kí n gbọ́.